What if I told you that the strategy to bring down the walls of Jericho is not a history lesson, but a precise operations manual for rebuilding your financial life? For centuries, this story has been read as a testament to faith, a demonstration of divine power for a chosen people. But this is a surface-level reading, a shadow of the true mechanism at play. Hidden within the verses, encoded in the peculiar and seemingly illogical commands given to Joshua, lies a timeless technology for the mind. It is a divine code for personal conquest, a spiritual strategy that has been overlooked by millions who seek prosperity through conventional means. You have been led to believe that wealth is built only through frantic effort and sacrifice, but the truth is far more profound. The secret to your financial promised land is not found in working harder, but in thinking differently, in thinking according to a divine blueprint. This ancient blueprint, this mental code, finds its perfect reflection in the most rigorous studies of human achievement, particularly in the work of Napoleon Hill. It is where divine instruction and the science of success converge into a single, unstoppable force. Imagine for a moment that the principles of a definite chief aim of unwavering faith and disciplined persistence were not discovered in the early 20th century, but were in fact gifted to humanity thousands of years ago, wrapped in a narrative of war and conquest. This is not a coincidence. It is a revelation that the laws of the universe, both spiritual and material, operate on the same fundamental frequencies. What Joshua received was not just a plan to conquer a city. He received the keys to programming his reality, a method so powerful that it could make the impossible an accomplished fact. The combination of this divine code from the book of Joshua and the psychological framework of Napoleon Hill makes the reconstruction of your financial destiny, especially after the age of 40, not just a distant possibility, but an absolute inevitability. This is the truth that has been waiting for you to discover. This is the moment where you stop seeing your circumstances as final and begin to see them as walls waiting for the right command to fall. The instructions are clear, the strategy is proven, and the power to execute it resides within your own mind. Forget what you think you know about building wealth. Today you will learn to stop fighting against the walls of your limitations and instead learn the divine command that makes them crumble into dust, clearing the path to your long-awaited promised land. You know that specific silence of 3 in the morning, don't you? The world outside is asleep, but your mind is a storm of calculations and anxieties. It is in this crushing quiet that the numbers seem to shout the loudest. The mortgage payment, the looming credit card statement, the tuition for your children, the constant draining outflow that never seems to be matched by the inflow. You stare at the ceiling, and the darkness itself seems to take the shape of your financial fears. This isn't just stress. It's a deep, soul-level weariness, a silent battle fought night after night when there is no one else to witness it. This is the private weight, carried by so many who have done everything right, only to find themselves haunted by the specter of not enough. For decades, you have been running. You have been on a treadmill, fueled by responsibility, and the promise that your effort would eventually lead you to a place of rest and security. You have put in the hours, you have accepted the extra shifts, you have climbed the ladder with integrity and diligence. Yet, when you dare to look around, the scenery remains stubbornly the same. The feeling is unmistakable. It is the exhaustion of constant motion without meaningful progress. You are moving, sweating, striving, but you are not advancing. The promised destination of financial freedom seems to be a mirage, always shimmering on the horizon, but never getting any closer no matter how fast you run. And a quiet, devastating question begins to form. Is this all there is? This feeling is compounded by the ghost of an uncertain retirement, a shadowy figure that walks beside you more and more often. It whispers questions that you try to push away during the busy hours of the day. Will I have enough? Will I be a burden on my children? Will my golden years be spent in a state of constant worry instead of well-deserved peace? This fear is not just about money, it is about dignity. It is about the terror of losing your independence, of having your choices dictated by a meager bank balance after a lifetime of contribution. You have given your best years, your energy, your very life force to your work and your family. The thought that it might not be enough to secure a peaceful end is a profoundly deep and isolating pain. And then there is the undeniable weight of time upon your shoulders. After 40, the calendar seems to shed its pages with an unnerving speed. The boundless horizon of youth has been replaced by a more sober understanding of the years that are left. A subtle panic can set in, the belief that the window of opportunity for creating true generational wealth has closed. You see others who seem to have figured it out, and the comparison only deepens the wound. You ask yourself, have I missed my chance? Is it too late to build something significant, something lasting? This belief, this fear that your time is up, is one of the highest and thickest walls you face, paralyzing you from taking the very action that could set you free. The cruelest part of this struggle is that you have been a faithful student of the conventional script. You listened intently to the advice given by society. Study, work hard, be honest, save what you can. You believed in the virtue of a steady job and the slow, arduous path of incremental progress. You avoided shortcuts. You acted with integrity. You fulfilled every one of your obligations with a sense of honor. You are the backbone of the economy, the responsible citizen, the person who does everything they are supposed to do. You have played the game according to the established rules, trusting that your adherence would be rewarded with the security and abundance that was promised to all who walked this path. Yet, here you are. Despite following those rules, you find yourself in a position of profound vulnerability. You know that a single unforeseen event, a medical emergency, a job loss, a major home repair, could shatter the fragile stability you have managed to build. Isn't it true that after all these years of careful planning and sacrifice, the feeling of true financial safety remains elusive? This is the core of the frustration, the maddening gap between the effort you have invested and the results you are living. It fosters a quiet resentment, not towards anyone in particular, but towards the system of beliefs you followed so trustingly, a system that now feels incomplete, if not entirely flawed. It is a feeling of being fundamentally let down. This financial pressure forces a slow, heartbreaking erosion of your dreams. The grand aspirations you held in your 20s and 30s have been gradually downsized, negotiated away in the face of relentless monthly expenses. The freedom to travel, the ability to pursue a passion project without concern for income, the simple joy of being unreservedly generous with your loved ones. These things get postponed, filed away under someday, and someday begins to feel like never. Each compromise is a small surrender, another brick in the wall of limitation that surrounds you, quietly convincing you that your highest vision for your life is an unaffordable luxury. This is not just a financial deficit, it is a deficit of joy, of freedom, of self-expression. Ultimately, this cycle creates a state of quiet desperation, a hidden anxiety that you mask with a capable and responsible exterior. You are the rock for your family, the reliable colleague, the stable friend. But inside, you carry the exhaustive burden of this financial uncertainty. You feel trapped not by a lack of effort, but by a lack of a correct strategy. You sense, deep in your soul, that there must be another way, a principle you have missed, a key you were never given. That feeling is correct. Your situation is not a reflection of your worth or your effort. It is simply the result of trying to demolish a fortress with the wrong tools. The state you are in is not your destiny. It is a wall, and today you will be given the blueprint for its demolition. So what is the force that keeps you on this treadmill, that maintains this state of quiet desperation? It is not a lack of intelligence or a failure of effort on your part. The true enemy is far more subtle. It is the pervasive mentalidad de escasez, the scarcity mindset that has been skillfully disguised as conventional financial wisdom. For generations, we have been handed down a very specific set of instructions for financial survival. Work more, spend less, budget relentlessly, and deny yourself any comfort in the present for a future that might never arrive. This advice is presented as the only path of prudence and responsibility, but it is a map that only shows a fraction of the territory, a map designed to keep you navigating a barren desert, convincing you that the promised land does not exist, or is not, for you. The fundamental flaw in this traditional advice is not that it is wrong, but that it is tragically incomplete. It operates on the principle that your results are solely a product of your physical actions. It is a philosophy of brute force. It tells you that to have more, you must do more, you must sacrifice more, you must suffer more. It chains your potential for abundance directly to your capacity for exhaustion, and in doing so, it reinforces the deepest limiting belief of all, that prosperity is born only from struggle. This creates a powerful internal conflict. You consciously desire ease and flow, but your subconscious mind has been programmed to believe that the only honorable path to wealth is paved with pain and deprivation, effectively repelling the very abundance you seek. These very beliefs, this wisdom of the world, are the true walls of Jericho that stand before you. They are not external barriers, they are internal structures of limitation, built brick by brick from every doubt, every fear, and every piece of well-intentioned but limited advice you have ever received. These walls appear solid, permanent, and utterly insurmountable. They dictate what you believe is possible for your life. The strategy of work more, spend less is the equivalent of trying to break down these colossal fortifications with your bare hands. It is an honorable effort, but it is a losing battle. You will exhaust yourself long before the wall shows even a single crack. It is time to stop attacking the wall. It is time to learn the divine command that causes it to cease to exist. But if the path of brute force is a dead end, where do we find the strategy of divine alignment? The answer has been preserved for millennia, hidden in plain sight, within one of the most dramatic stories of conquest ever recorded, the Book of Joshua. This is not merely a collection of ancient chronicles, it is a sacred text of mental and spiritual warfare. Before Joshua was ever given the strategy to take the city of Jericho, he was given a prime directive, a foundational command for his own mind. In the first chapter, verse 8, the instruction is delivered. Do not let this book of the law depart from your mouth. Meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to do everything written in it. Then you will be prosperous and successful. The first battle was for his focus. The first conquest was over his own thinking. Consider the sheer absurdity of the strategy that followed. To conquer the most heavily fortified city in the region, God did not provide Joshua with superior weaponry, more soldiers, or clever military tactics. Instead, he delivered a set of bizarre, ritualistic instructions. March your entire army around the city once a day for 6 days, in total silence. Then on the 7th day, march 7 times and on command unleash a single unified shout. From a worldly perspective, this is tactical insanity. It is a plan that invites ridicule and certain defeat. But this is the most important clue, you see. The plan was not designed to physically assault the walls. The plan was designed to mentally and spiritually align the people with the frequency of the miracle they were about to receive. It was a technology of consciousness. This is the bridge. This is the point of departure from the path of struggle to the path of alignment. The victory at Jericho teaches us a timeless and profound lesson. Your most significant conquests are not achieved through greater physical effort, but through a more profound and disciplined mental effort. The battle for your financial freedom, for your promised land, will not be won by working more hours. It will be won when you learn to command your mind with the same discipline as a general commands his army. The seemingly strange instructions given to Joshua were a divine protocol for cultivating unshakable faith, unwavering focus, and a collective certainty that the victory was already an accomplished fact. This is the key that has been lost to the modern world, and today we place it back into your hand. Let us now decodify this divine technology, step by step, translating this ancient spiritual strategy into a precise mental operation you can execute today. The very first command given to Joshua was not about warfare, but about territory. In chapter 1, verses 3 and 4, the declaration is made, "Every place that the sole of your foot will tread upon, I have given you, from the wilderness and this Lebanon, as far as the great river, the river Euphrates, all the land of the Hittites, and to the great sea toward the going down of the sun shall be your territory." Notice the breathtaking specificity of this promise. This was not a vague hope for some land. It was a clearly defined, bounded, and named inheritance. The secret embedded in this verse is a fundamental law of creation. The divine power cannot and will not operate on a vague request. Clarity is the essential prerequisite for co-creation. You cannot conquer an undefined territory because an undefined territory does not exist as a reality in the mind. The instruction to Joshua was to mentally tread upon and claim a specific domain. This initial act of defining the prize was the true first step of the conquest, establishing the blueprint in the unseen realm before a single soldier ever moved. Without this blueprint, any action that followed would have been aimless wandering, not a strategic conquest. Ambiguity is the enemy of all achievement. This divine principle is perfectly mirrored in what Napoleon Hill identified as the starting point of all riches, a definite chief aim. After analyzing over 500 of the most successful individuals of his time, Hill concluded that every single one, without exception, possessed a clear, written, and supremely specific major goal. Vague desires for more money, financial security, or a better life are nothing more than powerless daydreams. They lack the directive force necessary to command your subconscious mind and engage the laws of the universe. They are like unaddressed letters sent to the cosmos. They have no destination and therefore cannot be delivered. True intention requires a precise target. Let us apply our central metaphor. Your mind is the army of Israel. Your thoughts, beliefs, and faculties are your soldiers. Giving this army a vague command like "I want to be wealthy" is the equivalent of a general telling his troops, "Go win a war somewhere." It is an absurd and useless order that leads only to confusion, wasted energy, and inevitable failure in the wilderness of indecision. To be an effective commander of your own mind You must provide it with a map, with precise coordinates for the objective. Your army awaits its orders, but those orders must be crystal clear. It needs a defined, promised land to march towards. So I ask you now, and I want you to answer with radical honesty in the quiet of your own mind. What is your financial promised land? If a divine messenger appeared and asked for the exact specifications of the abundance you desire, could you provide them? Or would you offer vague feelings like, I want to be comfortable, or I just need enough to not worry? These are not definite aims. They are passive wishes. The first act of applying this code is to wage war against your own ambiguity. You must stop dealing in the currency of vague hopes and start issuing the clear decrees of a commander. This is your first mental action, your first operational command. You must define your terra prometida with the utmost clarity. This means a specific number, not a lot of money, but I will acquire and responsibly manage a net worth of X dollars by the 31st of December, 2027. It needs a date, a deadline that transforms it from a someday dream into a tangible objective, and it needs a plan of service. I will achieve this by providing this specific value, by creating this product, by delivering this service. Write it down, make it plain. This is the act of defining your territory. This is the first, non-negotiable step. Why is this specificity so powerful? Because a clearly defined goal, impressed upon the subconscious mind, acts as a powerful organizing principle for your entire reality. It activates a part of your brain known as the reticular activating system, which begins to filter your perception of the world. Suddenly, you will begin to notice conversations, opportunities, people, and resources that were always there but were previously invisible to you because your mind had no order to look for them. A clear goal transforms your mind from a passive observer into an active, purpose-seeking instrument. It creates the map that reveals the pathways through the wilderness. Furthermore, you must connect a deep and powerful emotion to this defined aim. The number itself is just a symbol. The life it represents is the fuel. What will possessing this defined sum of money allow you to be, to do, and to give? Visualize the freedom from debt. Feel the peace of mind that comes with absolute security. Imagine the joy of providing for your loved ones without limitation, of contributing to causes you believe in with generosity. This emotional charge is the why behind the what. It is the heart of your army, the source of its morale and its unwavering will to march on day after day. The act of writing down your definite chief aim is not a mundane administrative task. It is a sacred act. It is a decreto mental, a mental decree. It is your covenant with the creative power of the universe. When you write it down, you are doing exactly what Joshua was commanded to do. You are treading upon the land with the sole of your foot in the realm of your imagination. You are claiming your inheritance in the world of cause, which will then unerringly produce its effect in the world of form. Do not underestimate the power of this single decisive act of clarity. It is the genesis of your victory. Once your territory has been defined with this crystalline precision, the first great command has been issued and understood by your inner army. The what is no longer in question. Your mind now has its marching orders and its destination. Only then can you proceed to the second phase of this divine strategy. We must now learn the how of the mental process, the spiritual discipline required to close the gap between the reality you currently inhabit and the promised land you have now so clearly defined. This brings us to the second great command given at Jericho, the march of discipline. The next instruction delivered to Joshua is perhaps the strangest of all. As found in chapter 6, verses 3 and 4, the command is this: march around the city once with all the armed men. Do this for 6 days. The 7 priests carrying the 7 trumpets of ram's horns are to go before the ark. On the 7th day, you are to march around the city 7 times, with the priests blowing the trumpets. But there was a critical condition attached to this march. It was to be conducted in absolute profound silence. The army was forbidden to utter a single word, not a war cry, not a whisper, until the final moment. What is the secret encoded within this command of silence? The silence was a divine technology for the incubation of faith and the prevention of psychic contamination. Imagine an army of thousands marching around an impregnable fortress. Inevitably, voices of doubt, fear, criticism, and complaint would arise. This is pointless. We look like fools. We are going to be slaughtered. A single voice of doubt, left unchecked, can infect an entire battalion with the frequency of failure. The divine command for silence was a masterstroke of psychological and spiritual discipline. It forced every soldier to hold the vision of victory internally, shielded from the corrosive influence of collective doubt and external appearances. This is the perfect living embodiment of what Napoleon Hill taught as the principles of persistence and self-discipline. Hill stated that persistence is to the character of man as carbon is to steel. It is the one quality that separates the victor from the quitter. This persistence is not a loud, aggressive force. It is a quiet, internal resolve to hold your course and maintain your faith, especially when there is no visible evidence of progress. The 6 days of silent marching represent this period of persistent, disciplined internal work, where your belief is being forged and hardened, away from the noisy doubts of the world and your own lower mind. Let us return to our metaphor. The massive, impenetrable walls of Jericho are your current financial problems, your debts, your anxieties, your limiting beliefs. Your mind is the army. The command to march silently for 6 days is your command to engage in the daily, disciplined practice of focusing on your goal, even when the walls of your reality show no signs of cracking. Each day you take time to visualize your outcome, to feel the feeling of your wish fulfilled, to study and affirm your new reality. You are completing one more silent lap around the fortress. You are conditioning your mind for a victory that has not yet appeared in the physical world. Now reflect on your own past efforts. How many times have you begun a new path, a new business idea, an investment strategy, a personal development plan filled with fire and enthusiasm, only to abandon it a few weeks or months later simply because you saw no immediate results? This is the failure to complete the 6-day march. We are conditioned for instant gratification, to expect a sign, a crack in the wall after our first lap. When it doesn't appear, our undisciplined inner army begins to complain and doubt, and we retreat. The divine strategy demands that we persist in faith, independent of feedback from our current reality. Therefore, this is your second mental action, your second operational command. You must institute a daily, non-negotiable ritual of the silent mental march. This means setting aside protected time each day to walk around the walls of your problem in your imagination, not with fear, but with a quiet certainty of their dissolution. This is not passive daydreaming. It is a strategic mental rehearsal. During this time, you withdraw your attention from the problem and place it entirely upon the solution, upon your definite chief aim, seeing it, feeling it, and inhabiting it as if it were already your present reality. This daily ritual works because it literally rewires the structure of your brain and recalibrates your energetic signature. Through focused repetition, you build new neural pathways, making the thoughts and feelings of your desired reality more familiar and dominant than the thoughts and feelings of your current struggles. You are systematically closing the energetic gap between who you have been and who you must become to command the results you desire. You are becoming, on the inside, the person who is already in possession of their promised land. This internal transformation must always precede the external manifestation, and the component of silence is critical. During your daily life, which is your march, you must exercise supreme discipline over your words and your dominant thoughts. Every time you complain about your lack of money, you are breaking the sacred silence and sowing doubt among the troops of your mind. Every time you speak of your fears and problems, you are giving power to the walls. The discipline is to hold the vision internally with such conviction that you no longer feel the need to speak of lack. You learn to be silent, knowing that your inner work is what is truly producing the result, not your external complaints. So, your ritual is clear. The first thought upon waking, before your mind engages with the problems of the day, must be a lap around your promised land. See your definite aim. Feel the gratitude for its accomplishment. And the very last thought before you surrender to sleep must be the same. You must saturate your subconscious mind with this new reality. Do this for 6 symbolic days, which may be weeks or even months in human time, without demanding proof or evidence from the world outside. This is the test of faith. This is the discipline of the silent march. The territory has been defined with absolute clarity. The army of your mind has been disciplined and conditioned for victory through the daily ritual of the silent march. The ranks are no longer filled with doubters and complainers, but with resolute soldiers who have held the vision in silence, incubating a powerful, unified faith. The energy has been gathered, the conviction has been hardened, and the frequency of victory has become dominant. Now, and only now, is your mind ready for the third and final command? The command that releases all of this accumulated power in a single reality-altering moment, the shout of certainty. We now arrive at the climax of the strategy, the event that has echoed through history. The command is given, and in verse 20 of chapter 6, the result is recorded. When the trumpet sounded, the army shouted, and at the sound of the trumpet, when the men gave a loud shout, the wall collapsed. So every soldier charged straight in, and they took the city. Notice the sequence. The shout came only after the period of disciplined, silent preparation was complete. It was not a random act of desperation. It was the planned, explosive culmination of a spiritual process. It was the trigger that unleashed the stored power. The secret of the shout is this: it was not a shout of hope or a request for victory. It was a thunderous, unified shout of certainty. It was the physical and audible expression of a faith that had been forged and purified in the crucible of the 6-day silent march. This is the critical tipping point where belief, which is passive, transforms into faith, which is an active, creative force. The shout was a decree. It was a declaration into the fabric of reality that, in the unseen realm where creation begins, the victory was already an accomplished fact. The collapse of the physical walls was merely the delayed echo of a triumph that had already occurred in consciousness. This is the absolute pinnacle of Napoleon Hill's entire philosophy, the point where all the other principles converge, faith converted into deliberate action. Hill described faith as the head chemist of the mind, a state of consciousness that, when blended with thought, connects directly with infinite intelligence. The shout is this principle made manifest. It is also a perfect demonstration of Hill's mastermind principle, the harmonious coordination of two or more minds for the attainment of a definite purpose. The unified, single-minded shout of the entire army created a mastermind of consciousness so powerful that it altered physical reality. How does this translate to your life? Your debts, your fears, your seemingly insurmountable financial obstacles are your walls of Jericho. The shout is the moment you cease all doubt and take decisive, inspired action from a place of absolute conviction. It is the moment you stop trying to reach your goal and start living from the reality of its accomplishment. For you, the shout might be the act of finally launching that business, making that crucial investment, or having that conversation you've been avoiding, not with hope, but with the calm, unshakable certainty that the outcome is already guaranteed. It is action born from knowing, not from gambling. Now examine your own pattern. You may have defined your goal. You may have even practiced the silent march of visualization. But when the moment of truth arrives, the moment to take that bold, decisive action, the moment to shout, do you hesitate? Does that small, insidious voice of doubt whisper, but what if it doesn't work? What if you fail? That flicker of hesitation, that single moment of broken conviction, is what causes the shout to become a meaningless noise. The power is not in the volume of the shout, but in the unity and purity of the faith behind it. Therefore, your third mental action is to deliberately cultivate this state of unshakable certainty. The shout is not something you do to get the result. It is something you do because you have already accepted the result as reality in your mind. Your mental practice is to find the feeling of it is done within you and to hold that feeling, to nurture it, until it becomes your dominant state of being. The inspired physical action you take from that state is your shout. It feels less like a risk and more like a simple, logical next step, a formality, because the real creative work has already been completed internally. This process works because the universe does not respond to your hopes, your wishes, or your needs. It responds to your conviction. A state of absolute certainty emits a powerful, coherent, and unambiguous frequency into the quantum field. It is a clear signal to the creative intelligence of the universe that the mold of reality has been set. The physical world, which at its core is just energy and information, then has no choice but to conform to the new blueprint you are holding with your unwavering conviction. The collapse of the walls is the natural effect of this powerful cause. Sometimes your shout can be amplified. The Israelites shouted as one, a mastermind of faith. In your own life, this means consciously choosing to surround yourself with people who hold your vision, who believe in your definite purpose, who can shout with you in spirit. This means protecting yourself from the doubters and naysayers who would weaken your conviction. A strong mastermind alliance acts as a powerful echo chamber for your faith, reflecting your certainty back to you and strengthening it, especially in moments when your personal resolve might waver. Choose your inner circle as if your entire future depends on it, because it does. Ultimately, the most powerful shout is the final, silent decree you make within your own consciousness. It is the moment when the last vestiges of your old identity, the person who struggles, who worries, who doubts, finally fall away. It is the click in your mind when you fully and completely accept your new reality as the only truth. You declare to yourself with finality, I am no longer petitioning for abundance. I am the embodiment of abundance. My security is a fact. My prosperity is my divine inheritance. It is done. This internal shift is the cause. The collapse of your financial walls is simply the inevitable, corresponding effect. The divine code is now fully deciphered for you. It is a three-part spiritual technology for deliberate creation. First, you must define your territory with absolute mathematical clarity, just as God defined the promised land for Joshua. Second, you must walk the path of the silent march, the daily disciplined ritual of focusing on your accomplished goal, regardless of outward appearances. And third, after your faith has been forged into certainty, you must unleash the shout of conviction, taking bold, inspired action from the state of the wish fulfilled. This is the timeless strategy for conquest. It is a universal law, and its power is now yours to command. Imagine for a moment a different kind of morning. Imagine waking up not to the familiar jolt of anxiety, but to a profound and pervasive sense of peace. The mental storm has passed, replaced by a quiet, steady calm. You rise with the sun, and your first thoughts are not of lack or obligation, but of gratitude and possibility. The silent, nightly battles with fear and worry are a distant memory, replaced by a deep, abiding knowing that all is well. This is not a fantasy. It is the first and most precious fruit of your victory. It is the peace of mind that comes when your financial reality is no longer a battleground, but a well-tended garden, a fortress of security you have built by divine design. Picture yourself looking at your finances, not with dread, but with a sense of empowered stewardship. The numbers on the screen no longer hold any power over your emotional state. They are simply tools, resources that you command with wisdom and purpose. The ghost of an uncertain retirement has been vanquished, replaced by the tangible reality of a future that is not just secure but abundant. This is the feeling of true freedom, not the absence of responsibility, but the absence of fear. It is the deep cellular safety that comes from knowing you have not only conquered your own limitations, but have built a lasting legacy of stability for yourself and for your family. This security becomes the foundation for a new kind of life, a life of expansive choice. When you are no longer making decisions based on sheer necessity, your world transforms. You can finally pursue that project that sets your soul on fire, not because it has to make money, but because it brings you joy and fulfillment. You regain sovereignty over your own time, allowing you to invest your precious energy in relationships, in health, in personal growth. The treadmill of obligation comes to a final, grinding halt. In its place is an open field of possibility where your days are guided by passion and purpose, not by the relentless pressure to simply survive. And from this place of fullness, you unlock one of the greatest joys available to a human being, the power of unreserved generosity. Imagine the profound fulfillment of being able to support your loved ones without a second thought, to contribute meaningfully to a cause that touches your heart, to be a source of blessing and opportunity for others. The pain of scarcity is that it contracts our spirit, forcing us to focus only on ourselves. The gift of abundance is that it allows our spirit to expand, to flow outward, to participate in the divine circulation of giving and receiving. Your personal conquest becomes a victory for everyone you touch. This future is not a distant, hopeful dream waiting for you at the end of a long struggle. It is a present possibility, a parallel reality waiting for you to choose it. The bridge between where you are and this vision of peace and freedom is not built of time, luck, or external permission. It is built in an instant, with a single powerful internal decision. The decision to stop throwing your energy against the walls of your current reality. The decision to stop using a flawed strategy. The decision right now to adopt the divine blueprint for victory that has been revealed to you today. Therefore, the call to action now is not for you to like, share, or subscribe to this channel. It is a call to a much deeper, more sacred commitment. It is a challenge from my soul to yours. Today, in this moment, choose your financial promised land. Take out a piece of paper and define it with the absolute clarity of a divine command. Write it down. Give the army of your mind its definite, unambiguous mission. And then when you wake tomorrow, you will not wake to anxiety. You will wake with a purpose. You will begin your first, silent, disciplined march around the walls of your own Jericho. The power to do this does not lie outside of you. It is not in my hands, nor in the hands of your employer, your government, or the economy. The infinite creative power that leveled the walls of Jericho resides within your own consciousness, and it has been waiting patiently for you to issue the correct commands. You have always been the general. You have always been the king. This knowledge was simply the forgotten operations manual, the lost map to your own indwelling kingdom. The strategy is now yours. The victory is your birthright to claim. The process is infallible. The law is absolute. The power is within you, and the time for your personal conquest is now. Take this truth and let it become the new foundation of your mind. Let it be the lens through which you see your world, and the compass that guides your every mental action. Build your conviction in the silence, and your reality will have no choice but to bow to your command. Let these final words be the first words of your new reality, where the mind marches in discipline, the wall of scarcity crumbles,